Hello everybody, and welcome to part 3 of Mr. Klutz is Nuts. Chapter 9, I Pledge Allegiance to Mr. Klutz. I want to congratulate all you kids, Mr. Klutz said over the loudspeaker on Monday morning during announcements. You did it! 1 million math problems. That's quite an accomplishment. See, all you needed was a little incentive. This has been such a huge success that I have decided to challenge you again, he continued. Election Day is coming up in November. This is a very important day in America. I think every child in this school should write an essay about what it means to have elections. And if you achieve this goal by Election Day, I will climb the flagpole in front of the school and recite the Pledge of Allegiance when I get to the top. I hope he doesn't hurt himself again, said Emily. I'll write my essay during recess, said Andrea, who always does everything the second any grown-up tells her to, instead of waiting as long as possible, like a normal kid. Couldn't we just write one essay for the whole class? I asked Miss Daisy. That would be a lot easier. Mr. Klutz's voice came out of the loudspeaker again. I know some of you will ask if you can write a class essay. The answer is no. If you want to see me shinny up the flagpole, each student must write their own essay. That's my final offer. Take it or leave it. And I'll tell you what, when we have all the essays, I will send them to the president to read. Have a nice day. The thought of the president of the United States reading our personal words was pretty cool, I had to admit. Everybody finished their Election Day essays so quickly, we were done a week before Election Day. Some kids, like Andrea, even wrote 2 essays. On the morning of Election Day, all the students and teachers gathered on the grass in front of the school. Mr. Klutz came out of the door. He was wearing a red, white, and blue Uncle Sam costume. He also had on sneakers and one of those harnesses that lumberjacks use to climb trees. His leg was all better, and he didn't walk with a cane anymore. We all let out a roar when Mr. Klutz started to shinny up the flagpole. I was a little afraid that he was going to fall and break his leg or something, but he didn't. For a principal, he was a good climber. When he got to the top, we all recited the Pledge of Allegiance with him. Then everybody let out a cheer. When he was sliding down the flagpole, Mr. Klutz got his foot caught in the rope that holds the flag. As he was trying to get his foot loose, his hand slipped and he fell. The next thing we knew, Mr. Klutz was hanging upside down from the flagpole. His Uncle Sam hat fell off. Everybody gasped. Mr. Klutz was just hanging there, halfway up the flagpole, like he was another flag or something. It would have been the funniest thing in the history of the world if we didn't honestly think Mr. Klutz was going to fall and land on his head. Help! He shouted. My foot is caught in the rope. Quick, get some pads from the gym for him to land on, yelled Mrs. Rupee, the school librarian. Call the fire department, yelled Mrs. Cooney, the nurse. Everybody was running around like crazy, and nobody knew what to do. It looked like Mr. Klutz would have to just hang there from the flagpole all day. He'll figure a way out of this, I told the kids in my class. When the blood rushes to his head, it helps him think. But it was Miss Daisy who came up with a great idea. She went over to the bottom of the flagpole where the rope is tied. She took the knot out and held both ends of the rope tight. Then slowly and carefully, she began to let out some rope and lower Mr. Klutz down the flagpole, just like he was a regular flag. When he reached the bottom, the teachers caught him and loosened the rope from his foot. He was okay, he said, except for the rope burns on his leg. Hooray for Miss Daisy, our class cheered. And after he was back on the ground, Mr. Klutz got up, brushed himself off, and walked up the front steps like it was totally normal for a principal to hang upside down from a flagpole. Mr. Klutz is nuts. Chapter 10. Mr. Klutz is getting weirder. Your Election Day essays were fantastic, Mr. Klutz told our class the next morning. He had a big bandage wrapped around his head. I'm guessing he must have either crashed his skateboard again or found another flagpole to fall off. Thank you, we all said. But I was a little surprised by the number of spelling errors I found in them, he continued. We need to improve the spelling at our school. So here is what I have decided to do. If you students can write out a list of 100,000 spelling words by Thanksgiving, I will dress up in a turkey costume and ride a pogo stick down Main Street." "Yay!" everybody hollered. "How about 1,000 spelling words?" shouted Ryan. 100,000 spelling words, Mr. Klutz repeated. "That's my final offer. Take it or leave it. And every word must be spelled correctly. Have a nice day." During lunch, I was sure that Andrea was going to start her list of spelling words just to show how smart she was. But she didn't. She just kind of sat there, picking at her food quietly. "You know, I've been thinking," she finally said. "I'm beginning to wonder if something might be wrong with Mr. Klutz." "Like what?" Emily asked. "Maybe he has some kind of personal problem." "What do you mean?" Michael asked. "Mr. Klutz is a cool guy. Would you rather have a boring principal?" "My mother is a psychologist," Andrea said, "and she said that people sometimes do weird things for reasons that are buried deep within their mind." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means she thinks Mr. Klutz is nuts," said Michael. "I didn't say that," Andrea went on. "All I'm saying is that maybe he didn't want to climb up the flagpole. Maybe he doesn't want to put on a turkey costume. Maybe he just wants people to like him, and the only way he knows to show that is to do nutty things. Maybe he's a sad, unhappy man. Maybe all he wants is a hug or something." "That's the saddest story I ever heard," Emily said. Then she started sobbing. Me, Ryan, and Michael looked at one another. We all rolled our eyes up in our heads. "Mr. Klutz is cool," Ryan said. "You're the one who has some kind of personal problem, Andrea." "Maybe Mr. Klutz is nuts," I said. "In fact, maybe he's not a principal at all. Did you ever think of that? Maybe Mr. Klutz escaped from a home from the criminally insane, and he's just pretending to be a principal. Maybe our real principal is tied up to a chair in the dungeon down in the basement. My friend Billy told me—" "There is no dungeon down in the basement," Emily insisted. "That's just one of those urban legends." "Sure, that's just what he wants us to believe," I told Emily. "He doesn't want us to know our real principal is tied up to a chair down there. He probably tortures him during summer vacation." "I think you guys are nuts," Emily said. "I'm worried about Mr. Klutz," Andrea said, biting her fingernails. Chapter 11. The Last Straw. I don't know if all that mumbo-jumbo Andrea said was true or not, but I had to admit Mr. Klutz was acting weirder and weirder. After we finished the list of 100,000 spelling words, and he pogo-sticked down Main Street in a turkey costume, he offered to paint his bald head orange if our school got the highest reading score in the county. We did, and he came into school the next day with an orange head. Then, he offered to let every kid in the school shoot a ping pong ball at him if we collected enough box tops to buy new computers for the school media center. We did that too. It was fun shooting ping pong balls at Mr. Klutz, but even I was beginning to worry that there was something troubling him. And then came the day when it was obvious to everybody that Mr. Klutz had gone off the deep end. It was at the end of morning announcements. Miss Daisy had stepped out of the room for a minute. "Boys and girls," Mr. Klutz said over the loudspeaker, "winter vacation is coming up. If the students at our school read with their parents for 1,000,000 minutes before school lets out, I will bungee jump off the roof of the school dressed as Santa Claus." Me and Ryan and Emily and Andrea and Michael all looked at one another. "That's the last straw," Andrea said. "There are plenty of straws," I told her. "Do you want me to get you one?" "She means we can't take this anymore," Ryan told me. "Is that what the last straw means?" I asked. I always wondered what that last straw meant. "At first, I thought Mr. Klutz was just a funny guy," Andrea said seriously. "And he is, but he's also a deeply disturbed man. We've got to do something. If he keeps going like this, he might hurt himself again. Or even worse, if we don't stop him and something terrible happens, it would be our fault." "I never thought of it that way," I said. "What can we do?" Emily asked. "We're just kids." "We have to have an intervention," Andrea said. "What's that?" asked Ryan. "It's when you sit down and tell somebody they have a problem," Andrea explained. "You force them to do something about it. My mother has to do interventions all the time." "I'm not telling Mr. Klutz he has a problem," Ryan said. "Me neither," agreed Michael. "AJ, you started this whole thing," Andrea told me. "I did not." "Sure you did. You were the one who gave him the idea to give out incentives for learning in the first place. That's true, the others agreed, looking at me like I was a criminal or something. All I did was hit a puck into a net, I said. AJ, you've got to tell Mr. Klutz that if he bungee jumps off the roof, we're not going to read 1 minute with our parents, Andrea said. Two can play at this game. If he's going to do crazy things, we won't read any more books. We won't spell any more words. We won't do any more math problems. We won't learn anything. I couldn't believe I was hearing this from Andrea. Her idea of having fun is to read the dictionary during recess. If she was willing to give up learning, she must be really serious about Mr. Klutz and his problems. But if we stop learning stuff, I protested, we'll get dumber. In your case, Andrea told me, that would be impossible. Chapter 12, A Hard Bargain. That afternoon, we talked Miss Daisy into letting us go to Mr. Klutz's office for a meeting. We need to speak with Mr. Klutz, Andrea told the school secretary. It's very important. It's a matter of life and death, Ryan said. The secretary let us in. Mr. Klutz wasn't hanging from the ceiling or anything. He had on boxing gloves, and he was punching his punching bag. May I help you, kids? He asked. Go ahead, AJ, Andrea said, giving me a shove from behind. Mr. Klutz, I told him, we have come to make a deal with you. Really? What kind of deal? We decided that we will read 1 million minutes with our parents, but only if you don't jump off the roof. Only if I don't jump off the roof? He said, looking puzzled. But I was going to jump off the roof as an incentive to encourage you to read with your parents at night. Well, we're going to read with our parents at night as an incentive to make you not jump off the roof. This is highly unusual, Mr. Klutz said. I thought the principal should offer the students incentives, not the other way around. Your incentives have been getting more and more dangerous, Andrea told him. We're afraid that you might get killed trying to help us learn. Yeah, and if you die, we'll feel guilty, I added. Now let me get this straight, Mr. Klutz said. I offer to jump off the roof if you read 1 million minutes at night with your parents. But you're saying you will only read 1 million minutes with your parents if I don't jump off the roof, correct? That's right, we said. What if I jumped off the basketball backboard in the gym into a swimming pool filled with foam blocks? Mr. Klutz asked. Would that be okay? No, we all said. Can I wear a suit made of bubble wrap and jump off the stage in the auditorium? No. No jumping off anything, Andrea insisted. Not if you want us to read or write or do math. That's our final offer. Take it or leave it. You drive a hard bargain, Mr. Klutz sighed. Okay, I won't jump. Have a nice day, we all said. Chapter 13, Poor Mr. Klutz. The kids in the other grades were disappointed when they heard that Mr. Klutz had changed his mind about bungee jumping off the roof of the school. Some of them were even mad at us for stopping him. But when it was announced that there would be a field trip to Waterworld if we reached our goal instead, they stopped being mad. Waterworld is probably the coolest water park in California. A few days before vacation, the school still hadn't reached our goal of 1 million minutes of reading with our parents. It looked like we were not going to make it in time. Then, Mr. Klutz got on the loudspeaker during morning announcements. Students, there are 3 more nights to go before vacation, he told us. I hate to do this, but if you don't reach your goal by Friday, the field trip to Waterworld will be called off, and I will have no choice but to jump off the roof. Have a nice day. After hearing that, everybody started reading with their parents like crazy. Even the 6th graders, who say that reading isn't cool. Everybody wanted to go to Waterworld. We reached 1 million minutes the day before school let out for vacation. The field trip to Waterworld was awesome. They had about 100 giant water slides, and in some of them, you slid in the dark with laser beams shooting all over the place. We got to eat as much pizza and ice cream as we wanted. They also had one of those giant inflatable moon bounce thingies where you jump around like crazy inside it. After water sliding, eating all that junk food, and bouncing in the moon bounce, I thought I was going to throw up. It was the greatest day of my life. Me and Ryan and Emily and Andrea and Michael went looking for Mr. Klutz to thank him. We found him standing next to the moon bounce thingy. Great party, I told Mr. Klutz. and we all gave him a big hug. If you ask me, you're the greatest principal in the history of the world. Thanks, AJ. See, you didn't need to bungee jump off the school to make us learn, Andrea said. I guess not, Mr. Klutz said. He was looking up at the moon bounce. But I was just thinking, if we brought one of the moon bounce thingies to the front of the school and I went up to the roof, no, we all yelled. I wouldn't even need a bungee cord. No. It's pretty soft. No. I think it's going to be very hard work helping Mr. Klutz get over this need he has to do nutty things. Maybe by June, if the whole school works together, we might be able to cure him. But it won't be easy. And that is the end of Mr. Klutz's Nuts. I hope you liked it. Bye.